Thanks for staying with us. So this whole weekend, for those of you that watched the screen on Friday, it was just trending. There was only one name we're hearing, Bosun Tijani, Bosun Tijani, Bosun Tijani. Well, that was what trended all weekend. Everybody was talking, everybody had an opinion. But as I always say, if your view hasn't spoken about it, trust me, you haven't been heard about it. So, over the weekend, old tweets of one of the ministerial nominees, Bosun Tijani, criticizing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu resurfaced on social media. In one of his tweets, while replying to hashtag Babajide on July 23rd, 2019, he said, "It is becoming the norm. Tinubu fed them that rubbish narrative with his serving power a la carte wisdom. Go invest your time and money into business if you want to propagate such a rubbish narrative." He also said he allegedly called, he called the members of the Senate morons. He also kind of changed the name of ASO ROCK to something else. And so many things he had done and said. And but this is one person that many Nigerians know about because of his strides in the IT sector. This is somebody who is locally and internationally recognized as a young Nigerian, doing great things, helping young people, and he was one of the voices during NSAS. For whatever reason, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu nominated him to be a possible minister. Now, when he was being screened on Friday, there was a lot of hullabaloo about his person, who he is as the person, if indeed he's a Nigerian, if he still believed the things he wrote years back. Some tried to defend him, others were ready to attack. What are your thoughts? Many of you watched it and it's been on social media all weekend. So let me know what your views are. You can call us on 081-764-1679, 090-241-63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC. Can I please hashtag YourView TVC so we can read the tweet. There's another part of this gist I've not said. The APC youths are not finding it funny because they're like, with that we've been working. We have supported and we believe in what President Tinubu is doing and is going to do. Did he not find amongst us somebody who can become a minister? Why would he have to go outside? Somebody who criticized him, the government, and even Nigeria as a nation. That in itself is not fair. So there are different parts of this conversation, but let us start first with the screening. Those of us that watch the screening, what came to mind? What are your thoughts? I'd like to start with Mariam. Want to go first?
Okay. I feel that what happened on Saturday was, I feel it was a good thing to have happened to us on all sides, on the side of the nominee, the senators and Nigerians and people who, make comments on social media. It was an opportunity for us to learn many lessons, and we're learning them. Everybody involved has learned one thing or the other. So I've heard of Bosun Tijani long before now, and even privately in our house. My son started going to CcHub when he was 5 years old. In fact, I put a lot of I give them a lot of kudos on my son's interest in IT. It was developed at CcHub, and I know of how much work he's done in that space. So that's a quality Nigerian for the work that he's done amongst our youth. But you guys know me. You know how I feel about when you're criticizing or giving a different opinion, that you can afford to disagree with people without being disagreeable. You can criticize someone without being insulting. And I'm happy that we have this situation so that we can see how it may affect you in future, that there is a time that something you think you can get away with, you will have to face it. And that's what happened. The only thing I would say, or thankfully what's going for him, is that he's such a quality Nigerian that in his own particular case, he will be forgiven. He's apologized, and the apology was demanded of him, and he made that apology. You could see that because of all the work he's done and all the his passion for Nigeria, all the things he's contributed, even though the Senate was unhappy with some of the words and the language that he used, this was truly a case of the baby and the bathwater. So I'm thinking, this baby, did he poo in the water? Did he pee in the water? Did he throw up in the water? How much of the bad did he do in the water? So I would say that I'm sure he's learned his lesson. He influences a lot of young Nigerians, and they have a lot of young Nigerians watch his own particular screening because, you know, this is someone they know. They've learned that there are consequences for some actions, but also that they've learned that if you do good, your work will speak for yourself. Okay. We are Nigerians. We don't speak anyhow. And when you do, you'll be called to answer for it.
Let me come to you, Toby. What are your thoughts when you watch the screening?
You know, when I was growing up, I watched this movie, Idi Amin. He was a former president of Uganda. And one of the things he said was that there's freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee freedom after speech. And so, as youths, we probably think that it's easy to just type and just, the way I'm feeling, you know, there's that urge to do that. But this situation just made me stop and think that as we go on the ladder of success, it is important that when we begin to put communications out there, we should employ professionals and not just say, because it is my Twitter handle or because this is my social media handle, I can post whatever I want. If he had run that through a professional, a communications professional, I'm sure he would have still made his point without being insultive. And I know that there's also the thing about, you know, the regular human being just being generally insultive and rude, especially these younger generations. They don't have time. We don't have time, right? But I think that going forward is just a wake-up call to all of us to say that what we're doing has implications. It may not be immediate. Several years after now, we would see. But one thing I was worried about was that the questions were not about his competence. It was about his character. You know this popular quote that they'll say that your skill may take you there, but your character would keep you there.
Yeah.
And I see that now, and I'm like, I really do hope that this can be pardoned because really his competence is on point.
Okay, let's talk about the screening. Talk about your go ahead.
This is my initial.
Yeah. Go ahead. Please.
So, for me, I would say that there's a Yoruba proverb that says "Eyin loro," like words are like eggs. When it falls, you can't pack it up again. But the hardworking Nigerian that I am, that I've been slighted just because I'm a Nigerian, feels very, very, I can relate to his frustration that led him to type what he did. And I think that he's getting excessively flagged for it because he was caught and because he chose to take the appointment. Because he could choose not to. And he had every right not to. He doesn't need the ministerial appointment. He doesn't need that opportunity. Him stepping up was to serve. Him stepping up is saying that I have yabbed this government, I've yabbed this country because this country hasn't done well for me. And if I have the opportunity to make it better, let me do it. The way we are yabbing him for what he typed is because he typed it, because many of us say it. Even politicians say worse than what he typed. It's just that he had the confidence to type it because he was feeling frustrated. Yes. We all know we shouldn't say things in anger because some of the things we say in anger don't really, if we think about it again, yeah, we mean it, but we probably wouldn't have said it the way we said it. But when you hear what he went through, even you will understand why we say it. Because when you are faced with the fact that you are punished for being a Nigerian, when you are faced with the fact that every time you see your leaders, you are wondering, I am a Nigerian, I should get a better quality of leadership. When you are faced with your Nigerianness being the reason for you not having opportunities, you would one day tweet or mention it. Maybe because he's a tweet person, we might be gisting with our friends and mention it. When you go to the hospital right now with an emergency situation and you don't see anybody to take care of you, will you be happy to be a Nigerian? You'll be frustrated. What kind of leaders do we have that will see enemy on strike and threaten them that they will not get paid if they continue on strike, instead of giving them what they want, which is basic human payments that will be able to allow them afford good living? You will be frustrated. You will yab the country. You will insult the country. Let's not do as if we are all loving and speaking. Even the senators were complaining and talking there. How many of them have their children in Nigerian schools that are saying that the Nigerian system, how many of them, when they are applying to go to other countries, if they don't use their diplomatic passport or use connection, will be able to get access? So let's not just bully Bosun for being a Nigerian and feeling the pain of being a Nigerian. Okay, he has suffered for it. And he should cry if he wants to cry.
I remember during the screening that Senator Okoyemi Bamidele was saying that all his children were born in America. In fact, they were there before he came into office. While he was doing his masters, that he married his wife and they got married there and he gave birth to his children there. So it's not as if it was after he became a politician that he now took his children abroad. So the assumption that once you're a politician or your children abroad is because you're in politics. No, some of us actually live abroad, just like you and I, we go abroad and we decide to marry anyway. The point Senator Okoye was trying to make was that many of their children also did the same thing Bosun did. Many of them were speaking against, if you remember, Governor Baseki said, if my child is not in my party, it's against my party. He said it during that period.
Yeah.
So we remember that lots of, because the average Nigerian youth was angry. Yeah. And it was understandable. So Senator Okoye was trying to make them understand, listen, let us put it in proper perspective and not judge him based on that. However, the question I'd like us to discuss is, why do you think the president would nominate a Bosun Tijani?
Okay, so
despite all this.
So first of all, right, I feel that there's a difference between criticism and just pure insult. And the very first tweet that was highlighted was where he criticized the government because he was trying to get a visa to go to another country, and because it was Nigeria, it took a longer process. And I love the way Senator Abo spoke up and defended, that criticism. But when he eventually went to calling people morons and describing the ASO ROCK in those words, personally, this is somebody that I admire. That's the Bosun Tijani. I was shocked. I thought you would say, no, that couldn't have come from me. I was shocked the language. So there's a difference between criticism. Nobody would deny him that. Nobody would deny the reason why he was frustrated. But you can criticize without going that low. Now, you're saying, why would he pick someone like that despite all the insults? It's because he understands that we're human beings and that if we have something that is so good, in my opinion, that if you have something that is really so good, like the qualities, the credentials that this young man has, and then he's flawed in some ways, will I deny Nigeria the possibility of the positive things that can come from having that young man as minister or having him head our tech industry? Would he put that aside just because of some words that he can apologize for? And that by doing that, really, for me, he has sent different messages. By doing that, he shows that he's a bigger person. He also humbles the Bosun Tijani and all those who have had that sort of language in expressing themselves. But it also makes the president look good, because he's saying, in spite of insults, in spite of your bad language, I recognize the sort of impact that you can make, in my government. I would make sure that Nigerians will be able to get out of that instead of dwelling only on your flaws. None of us here is perfect. I mean, I was thinking that there's some views that we shared here. If they call us in front of senators tomorrow and they show some videos of us calling them out, we may be asked to apologize. But this is not to say that the Senate has not deserved some criticisms. We're just saying that some words could have been better, but also this is a good quality Nigerian that we would be very well grateful if we allow him to take up a position where it would impact us on a federal scale.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the screening that took place actually on Saturday, Mr. Bosun Tijani. Let me come to you, Toby. In your view of the senators, do you think they were hard on him? Do you think they were a bit too harsh? Because I remember there was a point somebody was saying, I think Bosun was saying that, take me as your child.
Yeah.
Someone was saying that, let us see him as our son. Do you think they were a bit hard on him, or they did exactly what they expected to do?
Well, I think that the questions would have been properly put without the emotions attached to, the way the questions were asked. But in the long run, when we see that the way you ask a question or your actions sometimes does not guarantee the response that you would receive. So he put out the tweet, and I was even thinking also that out of all the questions that they would have asked him, why that question? Because I was expecting questions regarding his competence as against something that he said, and what he said wasn't in the current administration, it was the past administration. And so, yes, even though I felt that the leaders would have put it in a better way, but they eventually did. But what I wasn't happy about was that the first person asked the same question. The second person just wanted to just make a point, you know, asking in a different way. And, you know, someone saying, no, we can't proceed. And he was just looking all messy.
Putting yourself in their shoes, because this is somebody who is about to take a job, a role. Now, and there's an issue of his character. They were trying to say that, they were trying to say, you know what, clear this one first before we now start asking you about the job, your potential job you might get. But tell us, are you first a Nigerian? Do you still agree with those tweets? Do you think that was right? Or they should have just said, regardless of the fact that the president even nominated you, I'm sure that he's fine with all your behavior. Let's just focus on your ability to actually do the job that you might be doing. Do you think that would have been better for them?
I think it was okay for them to ask if he was just a Nigerian, if he was still a Nigerian, just to set the record straight. And I think for future reference, you know, you might just also wake up one day and say, after all, I have another citizenship and all that. But I think it was necessary, nothing to...
So what are your thoughts on
the questioning? Of course, we know the way our senators are, so...
They were typical fathers.
Oh,
they were typical fathers.
They were just out for fun.
Did you watch it?
Yes,
Did you hear the first silence when they heard... You know, some people had not seen the tweet.
Yes.
When they read the tweet,
they were shocked.
There was one silence like this, then everyone started like,
Did
you brought meat to the lion's den?
Did you see when he was asked them, tell him to, anyway, the first time the Senate president said Bosun should respond, that said it all, is it a fatai? Just like this.
Like, oh, yes, I saw it like,
hear what you want.
Yes, you can't get out of this.
So, and it seems like it got worse. Like the tweets, when they now quoted other tweets, it now seems like it got worse. But they couldn't have avoided asking those questions because immediately it got nominated, those tweets came up and people brought it out. So if they did not ask it, it would have been wrong. If you did not know the backstory, you would be wondering why would they read out the level of this person's CV and you're asking him if he's patriotic, if he's Nigerian. He's obviously Nigerian, but they had to do that because there were lots of clamor on him.
Let's talk about the camera in a second. Let me take Ahmed from Jos. Thanks for calling, Ahmed. Yeah. Morning, you're live.
Please, I will quickly say, character they say, I don't want. You understand? So what I simply notify on this Bosun Tijani or what to call, you see, we should learn to know how to talk to elders. Number one. Number two, we should learn how to talk bad things about our country. We don't need to talk bad things about our country. We don't need to use the elders because you are angry. We should learn to control our anger in terms of in this form. Because, for example, if you say like Yoruba proverb says, they say when you abuse your elders in your village, then you now go back to that village and say you want to acquire some leadership position. How will they give you? It's not possible. You have already abused the elder ones in your village.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. There's a part. I'll come back to you, Tokwe, because a lot of APC youth members were not happy, and probably some of those were digging up these old tweets. And many of them felt that, listen, we have quality people. Dayo Israel is constantly going to go and see the president. Don't forget us, so give us 15%. He's constantly trying to get the president to remember the APC youth that have worked tirelessly for this administration to come to. So here he is saying, we've not heard from him officially, but a lot of APC youth are coming and saying, this is unfair. We stood by you when nobody else cared. We believe in what you're coming to give.
Insult.
And so it's insulting. Somebody who therefore criticized you and spoke against you, you're not giving them an opportunity to serve. We also want to serve. How do you think they could have better handled this?
I think that the president has tried for APC. We have 48 ministerial nominees. Is unprecedented considering an economy that is in crisis. 40, we now like 50.
Are they all politicians?
So,
No.
no, it's
Or
just
some of them, well,
So the only person,
most of them are
politicians. It is like a 90% politician
and they are youths
scenario.
also.
There are youths. So I feel like in terms of appealing to the political base, the president has tried. You cannot fault him on that one. We've had ministerial lists that they were like almost a 40% of the ministers are not partisan. When, if you really want to drive change, you cannot drive it with the idea of I'm going to bring in a lot of politicians. When they were bringing in Obisi Gwisili and bringing in NOI Ngozi, at that season, the president then was trying to drive change. Yeah. So he went for non-political technocrats, and it meant he was displeasing his political base. So for me, this ministerial list, our president has tried for APC. Yes, the APC youth might have more in terms of the people they feel can fill in that position, but nobody can rival or question Tijani's competence to be on that ministerial list. I am happy that the president did this. He's for me right now, he's my favorite appointment into ministerial position. Okay. Before it was Better Edu, but this guy has taken over. And I think he should be applauded. They shouldn't be insulting or yabbing the president on this.
Pastor Lawal, then I'll come to you, Mary. Pastor Lawal, thanks for calling you live.
Good morning.
Morning.
First time caller in 10 years.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
There are two ways to those who say problem. At times when you behave negatively, it can lead you to a special something. But it will mar your character. And trusting our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a compassionate man. He has already forgotten what has happened. He's a new man. He's always new every day. Whatever you do to him today has been erased by tomorrow. I know him very well. I was 10 years when I knew him in my village. So I know his character and I know what to do. So the only thing I will advise the man, because for being appointed, if God says he will be a minister, that one will challenge him to caution those that may like to do such a thing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawal. You want to say something concerning this?
Yes, about how the APC youth may be feeling right now, the political group. Recently, I heard something. Someone says that it's best to work hard on yourself more than you work hard at work. And that eventually those that work harder on themselves are even more recognized at work. So this means I show up for work, I'm there earliest, I make sure I do my job, and that's all I do, but I never develop myself. But there's someone that may not give in the hours that this person is giving, but constantly developing themselves in such a way that whatever education or development that they are getting, the office sees it and knows that it will make such a great impact on, the group. And so with those in the politics, they have done their part, and they have brought the office or the president, to made him the president, or APC, the party that is ruling right now. But we have people who have developed themselves in such a way that, unfortunately, in such a way that they can make such big impact on Nigeria. We're looking for, the party and Nigeria is looking for the sort of people that, beyond politics would affect Nigeria in a positive way. There's also the issue of zoning with political appointments. If, let's use your example of Dayo Israel, who comes from Lagos State, that means there may have been maybe 5 to 10 names that may have been put on the list from Lagos State. Another Plateau State, there will be 15 names, and then they will weed them out based on age, based on competence, based on what it is that they believe you can contribute to the administration. So, and I know that the politicians know that so well. So I feel that the youth should not be upset about it. I think that the party will always create another avenue for them to, express themselves, to serve. So, but now we're looking at the big picture. We're looking at Nigeria, and right now is those who are most competent that should get in there.
Okay, let me bring in our guests. We'll have a guest, a popular guest, who should probably have some insight into this topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.